I paid for the whole family vacation. Then my cousins erased me from every photo and told everyone I was too tired. So I turned their fake aesthetic into a viral video that forced them into a humiliating public apology tour. I found out the truth while standing in the middle of my aunt's living room, holding a stack of glossy vacation prints that I had paid more than $3,000 for. Everyone was talking and laughing, my cousins showing off their summer aesthetic photo album like they were influencers, instead of a bunch of grown adults acting like middle school mean girls. I wasn't even supposed to be there that afternoon. I'd only stopped by to return my uncle's charger he left in my car. I wasn't expecting to walk in on a full slideshow presentation of the family trip to Myrtle Beach. The trip I paid for. The trip I begged them to postpone for 1 week so I wouldn't have to take a massive unpaid day off work. The trip where I ended up funding the Airbnb, the rental van, groceries, and every stupid beach-themed matching outfit they insisted we get so the photos would look cohesive. But somehow, miraculously, every single photo on the screen had exactly one thing in common. I wasn't in any of them. Not one. Not even the group shots I remembered posing for, standing shoulder to shoulder with people I grew up with. People I thought were my friends, not just relatives. At first, I honestly thought I was losing my mind. Maybe I really had been too tired. Maybe I'd wandered off more than I remembered. The week had been rough, after all. I had worked a lot of back-to-back shifts before taking that trip. But then I found the physical prints, stashed in an envelope on the coffee table, and my stomach dropped. Because there I was in the corner of a shot of us at the pier, except someone had literally covered my body with a badly drawn, smudgy patch of digital sand before printing it. Another picture had the background cloned over my face like I was some witness in a crime show whose identity needed to be hidden. And another, the one that hit me the hardest, was the big family photo I insisted we take on the last night. The one I set up the tripod for, the one I pressed the shutter on while running into the frame. Except in this version, the frame ended right at my shoulder, cropped out like I had never existed. My aunt noticed me standing there and immediately looked uncomfortable, like she'd been caught stealing from the church donation box. "Oh, honey," she said, fake sweetness dripping. "We figured you looked so exhausted the whole time, so we just avoided putting you in too many pictures. Didn't want you to feel self-conscious." My cousins laughed a little, those awkward, guilty laughs people do when they know they're lying but think the lie is good enough. "So tired," one of them muttered. "You were basically napping the whole trip." That's when something snapped, because I wasn't tired in those photos. I remembered posing. I remembered jokes. I remembered them taking pictures with me in them. I remembered the shutter clicking. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't about me being tired. This was about them wanting their perfect beige Instagram aesthetic family fantasy, and I didn't fit into the color palette. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even hand over the charger. I just took a long breath, nodded once, and walked out, because by then I already knew exactly what I was going to do. And they had no idea that I had something they didn't. The raw, unedited images. All of them. On my phone. And what I discovered in those original files made this whole situation 10 times uglier than I thought. I should have known something was off way before the vacation, but when you grow up in a family that treats guilt-tripping like a sport, you stop noticing the smaller things. You just absorb them. My cousins Lauren and Jess were always the pretty ones, the ones my aunt paraded around like trophies. Perfect hair, perfect outfits, perfect curated social media feeds. And then there was me. The cousin who worked 2 jobs, didn't have time to curl my hair every morning, and didn't take selfies because I didn't care enough to. We weren't enemies. We weren't best friends. We were just a family. And in my family, being just family meant you got dragged into plans before you even knew they were happening. The Myrtle Beach trip was one of those plans. It started in the group chat back in March. My aunt dropped a message about how we haven't done a big family vacation in years. And within minutes, the cousins were sending Pinterest boards and outfit ideas like they were auditioning for a damn catalog. I ignored the chat for a while because I assumed we'd go somewhere cheap, camping or something. But no. Suddenly, we were talking about a 5-bedroom Airbnb on the beach and a rental van big enough for cute road trip pics. Within hours, they were sending links to matching swimsuits and color-coordinated outfits for each day. Then the bomb dropped. My aunt sent a message saying, Since you're the only one who doesn't have kids or a mortgage, maybe you could cover the Airbnb. We'll get groceries. Like groceries somehow equaled $3,000. I should have said no. I should have told them to plan something within everyone's budget. But I didn't, because they kept saying how this will be our last chance before the kids get older, and how you make such good money, and how family should help family. So I paid. And when the dates rolled around, I begged them to shift it by 1 week, because my job had a mandatory all-hands meeting that I'd lose pay for missing. They shot me down instantly. Lauren said, "We can't change the dates just because you don't want to miss work." Jess added, "You're always too busy, just take the hit for once." So I took the hit. I lost the pay, and I tried to be a good sport. The actual trip was fine. At least that's how I remembered it. There were moments where I felt like they were taking pictures without me on purpose, but every time I stepped into a frame, Lauren would say something like, "Hold on, I don't like the angle," or Jess would say, "Let's try without sunglasses," and the photo would reset. But I swear I remember standing in those shots. I remember laughing. I remember them telling me to suck in a little or fix my hair. I thought they were just being shallow. I didn't realize they were positioning me out of frame, over and over, until they finally had angles where I simply wasn't included. Even the last night, when I insisted on the big family pic because I thought it would be something nice to look back on, I remember my aunt saying, "We can always crop it later." I thought she meant crop out the parking lot behind us. I didn't think she meant crop out me. Looking back now, I can see how all the little comments added up. How they made small digs about my clothes, my weight, my job, my tired eyes. I thought they were being petty. I didn't know they were building a justification for something bigger, something calculated, something they clearly planned. And I had no idea that the too tired lie was only the surface, not the root. The real root was much nastier. When I left my aunt's house that day with the doctored prints still burning in my hands, I sat in my car for a long minute just staring at them. The smudged sand, the cloned background, the sloppy crop line across my shoulder. It looked like a kid using a knockoff editing app, not grown adults who spent hours preaching about aesthetic consistency. The more I stared, the more the week in Myrtle Beach replayed in my mind. But now every moment felt different. Sharper, meaner. I remembered the weird little comments that felt harmless at the time. Like when I walked out of the bedroom the first morning in my regular swimsuit, just a plain black one I'd owned forever, and Lauren looked me up and down and said, "You didn't get the mocha brown one we sent. It matches the palette better." Palette. Like we were props, not people. I also remembered how they'd get annoyed when I'd go for a walk alone or try to sit on the balcony. They'd pull me back inside saying, "We're doing family pics right now," or "We need shots with the kids," or "You always disappear." At the time, I thought they were just being controlling. Now I realized they were annoyed because me taking a break interrupted their picture schedule. Every memory from that trip suddenly had teeth. But the part that made my stomach twist the most was how much money I had put into it all. They had no problem handing me receipts. No problem letting me swipe my card over and over. No problem asking for an extra rental so the kids could have their own space. No problem making me feel like I was the supportive cousin doing a nice thing. I started scrolling through my camera roll that night just to calm myself down. I had taken photos too, mostly quick snaps of the beach, the pier, the kids burying each other in the sand. I wasn't big on group photos, but I knew I had taken a few. Especially that last night. When I found the folder with the raw images, I felt something cold settle in my chest. Because in every single original photo, every group shot, every posed moment, every beach lineup, I was there, fully visible, smiling, standing right in the center in some of them. But then I noticed something else. There were duplicates. Each photo had two versions, the real one and a second, edited one. And the edited ones weren't just cropped. They had full-on manipulation. My arm blurred out, my torso replaced by fake sky. In one, they had literally stretched the background to cover me like I was a glitch they needed to conceal. I realized then that they hadn't just casually removed me. Someone had sat down and painstakingly erased me from each picture. That's not something you do on a whim. That's not "you look tired." That's not "we didn't want to make you feel bad." That was intentional, planned, coordinated, and then it got worse. Because when I scrolled far enough, I found a video I don't remember anyone taking. A behind-the-scenes clip of my cousins posing on the beach. In the background, you can hear Lauren whisper to Jess, "Make sure you get one without her." She's throwing off the whole vibe. Jess laughs and says, "Oh, don't worry, I'll edit her out later if she wanders in." I sat there in bed replaying that clip over and over. The tone in their voices, that smug laughter. The complete confidence that I wouldn't notice, that I wouldn't matter. Something in me hardened that night. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't sad. I wasn't confused. I wasn't hurt. I was focused. And I knew that whatever I was going to do next, it had to be big, loud, and impossible to ignore. Because they wanted a perfect aesthetic, fine. I'd give them an aesthetic they'd never forget. The next day, I decided I needed to know how far this went. Not emotionally, logistically. You don't erase a person from an entire week of vacation photos without talking about it, without planning, without slipping up somewhere. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I opened the family group chat archives. Our group chat goes back years, all the way to old birthday pictures and screenshots of recipes none of us ever made. I typed crop into the search bar. Nothing. Then I tried edit. Nothing. Then I tried picture. Still nothing. Finally, on a whim, I typed my own name. And that's when the real punch to the gut landed. Dozens of messages popped up, not in the main group chat, but in a side chat I had no idea existed. A chat with a name that made my jaw lock so hard my teeth hurt. Aesthetic only, know my name. My hand actually shook when I opened it. The chat went back months. Literal months. And the first thing I saw was a message from Jess the day after I agreed to pay for the airbnb. If she's covering the cost, we have to make sure the pics turn out right this year. Last time she wore that ugly blue cover-up and it ruined the whole grid. Right below it, Lauren replied, "Yeah, we should just get shots without her and fix the rest in post. She never checks anyway." Then my aunt chimed in. "Be subtle, she gets her feelings hurt easily." I sat there staring at the screen while something hot crawled up my throat. I scrolled further. A week before the trip, Lauren, "Make sure everyone's wearing neutrals. And keep her on the ends of photos so we can crop easier if needed." Jess, "Should we tell her? Lol, no." Aunt Denise, "Just say she looked tired if she asks." Then the night before we left, Lauren, "She's paying for everything. She's going to expect to be in the pictures, we have to be careful." Jess, "Let her think she is, we'll fix it later, just make sure we get clean shots." Aunt Denise, "I don't want drama, she's sensitive. Just keep her busy." Keep me busy, like a toddler, like background noise. But none of that was the real betrayal. Not yet. The real betrayal came in a message from my aunt that was timestamped the third day of the trip, right after I paid for the kids' overpriced ice cream because everyone forgot their wallets. She sent a picture of the group, me included, to the side chat with this message. "Can someone remove her from this one? It actually looks cute." And then the kicker from Lauren, "Why does she always stand like that? She doesn't understand angles." Someone replied with a laughing emoji. Not sure who, didn't matter. But the worst part, the actual twist, came a few messages later. "Aunt Denise, also, let's not post her in anything. She's been asking for extra time off lately. I don't want people at church thinking she's financially unstable. We need the family to look put together." I remember feeling my whole body go cold. This wasn't about aesthetics. This wasn't about color palettes. This wasn't about them thinking I was tired. They were embarrassed of me. Embarrassed that I worked 2 jobs. Embarrassed that I wasn't skinny like them. Embarrassed that I didn't dress like I was applying for a brand partnership. Embarrassed that I didn't look good in their curated fantasy. And they thought they could hide that behind beige outfits and fake smiles. By the time I finished scrolling, something in me was no longer breakable. They wanted to control the narrative. They wanted to erase me. They wanted to use me and then pretend I didn't exist. Well, they should have remembered one thing. I had the originals. And the internet loves a villain. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was upset anymore, but because my brain was working like a machine that suddenly clicked into a gear it had been missing for years. Every message from that secret chat replayed in my mind, each one sharpening my focus. They erased me because they were embarrassed of me. They used my money because they assumed I wouldn't fight back. And they built a whole aesthetic that depended on me quietly disappearing. So I decided to weaponize the one thing they cared about most, their image. My cousins lived for social media. My aunt lived for church reputation and Facebook likes. They spent hours staging photos, layering filters, asking the kids to pretend to laugh until their little faces twitched. None of it was real, but they needed it to look real. And nothing destroys a curated image faster than the truth. Still, I wasn't going to just post screenshots or write some long rant on Facebook. That's what they expected someone like me to do. No, I needed something clean. Something undeniable. Something that would go viral for the same reason their photos didn't: authenticity. The idea came to me while I was scrolling through my raw files again. I was flipping between each original photo and its edited counterpart, and at one point, I dragged my finger across my screen too fast, making the images flicker between the real version and the fake one like an animation. Real me erased me, real me erased me. And then it hit me. A video. A simple, fast-paced, brutally honest video showing the truth frame by frame. Not petty, not emotional, just factual. I opened my editing app and started laying everything out. Raw photo, edited photo, raw, edited. Each pair lined up perfectly so the transitions were seamless and jarring at the same time. The video would open with a calm, neutral text slide. I paid for my family's entire vacation. Here's what they did. Then the photos. Then the screenshots of the secret chat. Then the behind-the-scenes audio clip of Lauren whispering to Jess, "Make sure you get one without her." I kept the pacing slow at first, giving viewers enough time to see the differences, then sped it up, creating a kind of punchy rhythm. Each transition was like a slap. Real photo, real cousin, fake aesthetic, but the ending needed to land, hard. So I added one more slide. They said I looked too tired. Turns out, they just didn't want me in the family they post online. Under it, I placed the cropped family photo from the last night, the one they had literally trimmed to remove me completely. And next to it, the original where I was right in the middle, smiling like an idiot who thought she belonged there. When I finished the draft, I sat back and watched it all the way through. I didn't cry. I didn't even shake. I felt steady. But before posting it, I did one more thing. I checked every single one of their social media accounts. They all had new posts from the aesthetic album. The same edited photos, same fake captions. My aunt even wrote, "So blessed to have such a perfect family." Perfect. That word was all the permission I needed. I scheduled the video to post at 7 p.m. the next evening, peak scroll hour. Then I turned off my phone, made myself dinner, and didn't look at a single notification. Because I knew what was coming, and I wanted to watch it unfold without rushing anything. Some storms you don't run from. Some storms you build with your own hands. And I had just started mixing the thunder. The video went live at exactly 7 o'clock p.m. I didn't refresh. I didn't stare at the screen waiting for the first like or comment to appear. Instead, I turned my phone face down and watched an episode of some cooking show where people scream about risotto. I wanted to feel normal while their world quietly caught fire. At 7:36 p.m., my phone started vibrating nonstop. Buzz, buzz, buzz. So fast the alerts overlapped into one long, continuous hum. I ignored it for another 10 minutes. When I finally picked it up, the lock screen was slammed with notifications. Shares, comments, tags, messages from numbers I didn't recognize, DMs, missed calls from my aunt, my cousins, even people I hadn't spoken to since high school. The video had hit 80,000 views in under an hour. By the time I opened the app, it was over 150,000. They weren't ready. Not for the comments, not for the stitches, not for the duets, not for the absolute fury the internet unleashed on them. People called them petty, cruel, narcissistic, unhinged, manipulative, abusive, but that wasn't the twist. I expected that part. People can smell cruelty a mile away. The real twist came the next morning. I woke up at 6:45 a.m. to a text from an unknown number. "Hi, this is Amelia from Channel 7. We'd like to discuss your video for a segment on digital exclusion and family bullying." I blinked at it, confused. Then I checked the view count. 2.3 million. Comments, 40,000 plus shares. Over 300,000 stitches. Hundreds. People had made entire videos analyzing the edits. Some were breaking down the side chat screenshots like detectives. Others were talking about how common it is for families to isolate the black sheep while using them financially. My heart thudded as I scrolled, but then another twist. My aunt had posted a statement, not an apology, not an explanation, a statement, and it was bad. She wrote, "Please pray for our family during this difficult time. Certain individuals are spreading misleading information for attention. We never intended to hurt anyone, and we are being unfairly attacked. This is not what Jesus would want." The comments were a war zone. Someone responded with screenshots from the chat I'd posted. Someone else linked the original versus edited photos. Another person said, "So Jesus told you to crop your niece out of every picture." It was brutal. And it got worse for them fast. Because by noon, a local mom group found their profiles. My cousins ran a little online boutique that relied heavily on their clean family aesthetic. The comments turned into review bombs. People posted, "If this is how they treat their own cousin, imagine how they treat customers." Their follower counts were dropping so fast, I could literally see the numbers decreasing in real time. But the biggest shock, the twist that even I wasn't prepared for, showed up in my inbox around 2 p.m. a message from an account I didn't recognize. No profile picture, just a gray circle. The message said, "You should know they didn't erase you because of aesthetics. They erased you because they were telling people you couldn't come on the trip. They told everyone you backed out at the last minute. That's why they edited you out so their story would match the photos." My stomach dropped. I wrote back, "What do you mean? Who is this?" A minute later, "I'm someone who goes to their church. They told everyone you didn't come with them because you were too irresponsible with money to take time off. Your aunt said you're going through things. They said you weren't stable." Stable. That word hit like a punch to the ribs. They didn't just erase me for looks. They erased me to rewrite the story of who I was, to protect their reputation, to make me the unreliable, messy cousin who didn't show up. They used my money, my presence, my labor, and then built a lie that I was never there at all. This was never about photos. This was about identity. And they tried to rewrite mine out of existence. I sat on the edge of my bed with that message from the anonymous church member burning a hole straight through me. For a second, I honestly thought maybe they were exaggerating. Maybe they misunderstood. Maybe my aunt said something stupid, but not that stupid. But the more I thought about everything, every cropped photo, every side chat message, every whispered comment, the more something sickening clicked into place. I needed confirmation, and I knew exactly who would crack first. Not my cousins, not my aunt, but my uncle, my aunt's husband, who had always been too quiet for his own good. A man who hated conflict, hated gossip, and couldn't lie without sweating through his collar. I called him. He answered on the second ring, voice already tight. "Hello." I didn't waste time. "I know what they told the church," I said. "I want to hear it from you." Silence. Long, heavy, the kind you feel in your chest. Then he sighed. A slow, defeated sigh that told me everything before he even opened his mouth. "They didn't think you'd find out," he said. "Your aunt didn't want people knowing you were the one paying for the trip. She said it would make the family look dependent." Dependent. Like taking money from me made them look bad. He kept going, voice cracking. "She said if people knew you funded the whole thing, they'd think we were taking advantage. She said it would raise questions." My throat tightened. Questions like why the stable, Christian family needed financial help from the cousin they claimed was irresponsible. "So she told people," he continued, "that you backed out, that you couldn't afford the time off because your work situation was unstable, that you're having a rough year." "A rough year," I snapped. "I've been working 2 jobs to keep up. I've never missed a bill, she knows that." Another long pause, and then the real horror, the truth that chilled me in a way nothing else had. "She said," he whispered, "you don't always fit the image she wants the family to have." I didn't speak. Couldn't. "She said you look tired all the time, that your clothes aren't what she wants in photos. She said she didn't want people asking why you weren't doing as well as your cousins. She said it would reflect poorly on the family." Reflect poorly. As if I were a flaw, a stain, a crack in her perfect picture, but he wasn't done. "And that's why she had them take photos without you," he said. "She didn't want to explain why you were there if the story was that you weren't. And she didn't want people thinking you were doing better than you should be." Doing better than I should be. That was the moment everything inside me turned to ice. My aunt didn't erase me because she thought I looked tired. She didn't erase me because of aesthetics. She didn't erase me because she's shallow or petty. She erased me because she needed a villain in the family. Someone to look down on, someone to compare her daughters to. someone she could keep beneath them in every conversation, every prayer circle, every whisper after church service. She didn't want the world to know I paid for the trip. Because if people knew that, then I wasn't the struggling, unstable cousin she'd been portraying me as for years. My existence, my real life, threatened the story she told to make herself look better. So she rewrote it. She rewrote me. And the moment I hung up the phone, one thing became painfully clear. She hadn't just erased me from vacation photos. She'd been erasing me from the family narrative for years, quietly, deliberately, with a smile on her face. And now the entire world was finally seeing who she really was. When I hung up with my uncle, I didn't feel shaky or angry or heartbroken anymore. I felt something cleaner, colder, like the emotional noise had finally burned away and left only clarity. My aunt spent years shaping a narrative where I was the struggling cousin, the unstable one, the one barely holding on. She needed me to stay small so her family could look big. She needed me to be the shadow so they could be the light. So I made sure the world saw the truth in full daylight. By the time the video hit 5 million views, every one of their social media accounts was on lockdown. Their boutique page shut off comments. My aunt made her Facebook private. My cousins posted vague quotes about negativity and protecting energy, which only made things worse because thousands of people were now dissecting every word. I didn't respond. I didn't post again. I didn't defend myself. I let the truth speak. Around 3 p.m. that afternoon, my aunt showed up at my apartment. No warning, just pounding on my door like she was trying to break it down. I didn't answer. Instead, I sat on my couch with the volume muted, watching her silhouette pace back and forth through the peephole. Eventually, she slid a note under the door. A shaky handwritten apology that wasn't an apology at all, just a long paragraph about how family should stay private, and how I had embarrassed them in front of the whole community. They weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry they got caught. I didn't reply. The next day, the pastor from their church called me. He had seen the video, everyone had. He said he'd spoken to my aunt and cousins, and that they were deeply remorseful. I told him calmly that they weren't remorseful, they were scrambling. He went quiet. Then said gently, "Would you be open to them making amends publicly?" "Amends," I repeated. "Publicly?" He hesitated, then admitted the church board thought a public apology might help repair the situation. Someone recorded my aunt standing at the front of the church, voice shaking as she admitted, on a microphone, in front of the whole congregation, that she let vanity and pride dictate how she treated a member of her own family. She admitted to lying, to editing photos, to spreading false stories, and to demeaning someone who showed us generosity. My cousins stood beside her, tear-streaked and humiliated, forced to nod along as she explained how they participated in cruelty disguised as aesthetic preference. People filmed the entire thing. It went viral too. I didn't ask for that apology, I didn't need it. My revenge wasn't their humiliation. My revenge was reclaiming myself, dragging the truth into daylight, showing the world the person they tried to erase, and watching their perfect little aesthetic crumble under its own dishonesty. After the storm died down, I made one final post. For the record, I don't want anything from them. Not money, not apologies. All I wanted was to stop being treated like a prop in someone else's picture. Then I booked a solo trip to Asheville. A small cabin, a quiet view, my own schedule, my own photos, unedited, unfiltered, mine. Standing on that porch the first morning, watching soft light spill over the mountains, I took a picture of myself. No posing, no angles, no palette, real, present, visible. Then I posted it with one caption. "Turns out I look just fine when no one's trying to crop me out."